Tuesday. This is ALI-M.O.N.Y, Ali, Mayor of New York. What if I was Mayor of New York or ran for Mayor of New York? I'm going to try to keep it under 30 minutes. Short conversation about what's going on. Again, I'd like to reiterate, I do not want to be Mayor of New York. I really don't want to be a politician. God bless them, the good ones. God bless the good politicians, the ones who really are there to serve, to make things better for citizens who are really looking at a way to increase quality of life and quantity of life. I believe if the quality of life increases, maybe your quantity of life, the amount of life you get on Earth, increases. So for those good politicians who are doing it for the right reasons, bless you. Thank you. These are just some thoughts and musings if I ran for Mayor of New York. And again, it came from, someone did a bit about softball and what my softball name would be at our theater softball team. And they said alimony. And I took that stone and I used it to build a house, is what you do in comedy. Is when people throw stones at you, you use those stones and you build from that. And that led to, instead of my baseball name being Ali-M.O.N.Y, or ALI-M.O.N.Y, Ali, Mayor of New York. Enough said. As I said, my basic credo or philosophy of being Mayor of New York is three simple things: clean streets, safe streets, free streets. Let's try to keep the streets clean. Hopefully that'll lead to safer streets, and hopefully that'll lead to freer streets, meaning you can walk down the street, hold whoever's hand you want, and hopefully people are not going to catcall you or yell stuff at you. But look, people with mental illness are going to yell stuff. People with lower mental acuity are going to yell stuff. I mean, everybody's thinking it. Whatever somebody yells, other people are probably thinking that thought. They're just not going to yell it. And so I don't know how you get to a place where, people are not catcalling. I guess you call it out for what it is, a cry for help. If we instill in the city of New York that everything is either an act of love or a cry for help, then we're all on the same page. We have a language, we have a vernacular. When somebody litters, we go, cry for help. Somebody honks a horn, cry for help. Somebody catcalls, cry for help. Somebody squeezes through a yellow light that's now red and you're going through a red light, cry for help. So we have to be able to get on the same page and have a language, a simple language, where we can look at something and know simply that's an act of love or it's a cry for help. Be aware of those cry for helps and address them. Again, we're not going to be able to change people. But if someone goes through a red light, there should be a consequence, because eventually they're going to go through a red light and they're going to hurt somebody. They're going to kill somebody. So we have to figure out a way to kind of get on the same page. When I got married, we went to Aruba for our honeymoon. And Aruba has a phrase or philosophy, one happy island, Aruba. That was their kind of ad campaign. I thought that would be a great ad campaign for New York. New York City is also an island along with the 5 boroughs, but essentially an island. And one happy island. And how do we get to that place of one happy island? Because as I said, right now people are unhappy, it seems. They're scared. They're financially scared. They're physically scared. They're emotionally scared. Maybe spiritually scared. Because they just don't know once they leave their home what's going to happen. Friend of mine who we make cartoons together, we draw political cartoons, his mother-in-law walked out of the house and she got punched. She got PTSD now. Some drunk guy punched her, an old woman. And she happens to be Asian, so an old Asian woman got punched by a younger drunk guy. I don't know his ethnicity for sure. Is it important? I don't know. I mean, I think it's, if the police came, they would say, who punched him? Somebody. Who? A guy. Okay, but what did the guy look like? He was a guy. I think you have to kind of describe it as if you were giving a report to the police. And to me, all anti-Asian sentiment is mental illness in some way, shape, or form. At the end of the day, it's somebody trying to say that person is the reason I don't have something, or why do you have something and I don't have something, or why can't we both not work hard and not have stuff, and then misery loves company. You got to break it down. Where is it coming from? It's coming from mental illness, And In the same way, someone could say that anti-Semitism is jealousy. How come you're successful, I'm not successful? I think to some degree all of it is jealousy. All racism is to some degree, I'm jealous of you for what you have, or I'm afraid of you, and so thus I'm going to be anti-you. What do I want to discuss today? One of the big things is trains, MTA, buses. As I've said, it's gone up substantially since I moved here, and I guess, again, in a naive, childlike way, why do things have to go up? Can't they just stay the same price? Why do we keep having to edge everything up? Well, I guess it's because you have to put more money in the economy. I don't know. But now it's $2.90 to ride a subway or a bus. For most folks, I don't know if there's discounts for senior citizens. I don't know if there's discounts for students. There may be. But I guess if you're not in high school or you're just a regular citizen, it's $2.90, which roughly means you're going to spend $6 to go somewhere and come back, and which is why I see a lot more fare hopping, jumping over the turnstiles, getting on a bus in the back and not paying. What are you going to do? Are you going to say something? And then what? Because also a lot more knives, so there's a lot of knives and guns and people willing to use them. So I don't know if it's the place for someone who's just a regular New York citizen to say anything to somebody who's jumping over the turnstile or getting on the back of the bus. Look, it would be great if the subways and buses were free. How do we get there? I don't know. There's got to be a way. One of the ideas I've often had is bringing in the private sector into the public sector. I believe there's enough companies out there that each of them would bid on subway stops, meaning once they bid on it and it became the Coca-Cola stop or the Oscar Mayer stop or the Pepsi stop, it'd have to be major companies. And I suppose the challenge with that is okay, so we are now endorsing sugar, which is the white devil. There's no benefit to sugar in any way, shape, or form. If you want to have some, okay, it may be a treat, but it is the white devil. It's going to kill you, sugar in some way, shape, or form. So that's the challenge. Who's going to decide who gets a subway stop? What if Philip Morris wants one? RJR Nabisco wants one. Tobacco companies want a subway stop. And then who's going to decide who gets the subway stop? Meaning you take over a subway stop, you decorate it, you put in your advertising, you hire security guards. We'll still run the trains. We'll be responsible for the track. We'll be responsible for, everything that's not the train. And inside the train there would be other advertising. But each stop would be kind of a showpiece and a showplace for that company. But like I said, who are you going to, not allow to do it, and who are you going to allow to do it? And who's going to be willing to do it? And each of the stops are going to be different. So a stop like Times Square is obviously going to cost more for a contract, and the contracts would not be in perpetuity. You'd probably have to give them 4 to 5 year leases because whatever they do is going to take a year to get in there and really do it, whatever it means, retiling it, cleaning it, organizing it, hiring security. And it's not easy to hire security. If you want real security, you probably have to get either off-duty police officers or former military. Otherwise, it's very challenging to have folks in the security business who are going to be able to, carry a weapon, wear body armor, be able to deal with a situation or de-escalate it. It's just not easy, and there's not that many people out there that can do it and want to do it. And so you'd have basically the subway stops would be auctioned off, licensed off, and each of the stops would belong to a company. City of New York would still obviously run it and oversee it and make sure it's being done properly. But I think there's maybe 140 stops, 140 subway stations. I'll have to look that up to be sure. I'm not going to stop right now to go on Google, but let's just say there's 150, 200 stops. That's 200 companies. I think you could find 200 companies. I just saw today that Mr. Beast is going to be one of the 2 patches on the Charlotte Hornets, which is unbelievable. A YouTube channel, which who knows, began 15 years or so ago, Now their product, I think it's called Feastables, is going to be one of the two patches. The other patch is, I think, the Michael Jordan jumping for the dunk from the free throw line. So anything's possible. Now, as far as people paying and not paying, okay, maybe that helps reduce the price of subways rides because the private sector is coming in. There also has to be a path for someone to be able to take the subway or the bus and just say, I don't have any money. Right? Now, the comedian in me, the small-time comedian in me says there's one line where you pay and you go. There's another line where you have to explain to somebody. And for me, again, I'm a small-time actor, small-time comedian. You have to explain to somebody standing there in a booth why you can't pay. Now, it's not going to be an hour-long conversation. You're just going to go, my parents didn't give me my allowance. I'm between paychecks. My rent has gone up. But a little short reason of why do you need to jump the turnstile? Why can you not pay? And again, the person there is not going to say yes or no, really. Their job is just to hear you out. Because it's not going to be like there's going to be, a former actor or an actor and an improviser, a musician this is their day job, is they stand there and they are the ones who deal with the line where you're going to get in free, but you're going to have to explain yourself, and somebody may want to stand in that line and say, okay, I am elderly and I'm on a fixed income and I'd rather, put my money towards food and rent. Okay, God bless you, go. But the person who's like, hey, I'm lucky, I've got a job, I've got a Metro card, and they're going to, eventually Metro cards are going to go the way of the dodo. It's going to be all digital. It's all going to be on your phone. I guess some would say that's also some type of socioeconomic exclusion because you can't assume everyone has a phone. So some people have to get cash, go to a kiosk, buy a card. But if people were able to get on subways and buses, and there was a way where they didn't have to jump turnstiles, and we made it possible, I think you would reduce friction because, you wouldn't have to enforce the somebody jumped the turnstile, now you're arresting them. You just say to them, look, just go into the line and explain to that guy who used to be on a sitcom 5 years ago, but, hey, he's still auditioning, but a couple days a week he comes in here and he sits in that booth and he decides, okay, not really decides. Again, I don't want to make it so this person gets this fake power where they get to say, no, I think you can't afford it. They're just you got to tell them your story in some short way, and then they just buzz you through. But we have to figure out a way to, and look, it's possible to harden the target too, to say, you know what? When we made these turnstiles, we didn't even think about people jumping over them. That's how stupid we were. We just thought people would pay and they'd go through and it's going to be a turnstile. And when they were, wherever they build these things, wherever they do the industrial engineering, wherever they have the showroom to be here's the new turnstiles, no one said, can't you just put your hands on either side of this and just jump over it? Or can't you just squeeze through this area? Can't you just push this fire exit door and open it and let other people come through? So can't one person just jump over the turnstile, push the door open, and then, hey, I just saved 5 people $3, $15. Even with that, I get on the subway sometime and it's packed. So we have to figure out a way of how do we have more trains coming? Some of them have been updated, but I think a city should always be looking towards how do we get the most modern mass transit that we can. And maybe you offer up the trains to another city that would be very happy to have our trains. And maybe they get sunk off the coast or the shore and they become natural coral reefs. They're not as bad as they once were, but also one thing they do in these subway seats that's off-putting is they decide with these little ridge seats where you're supposed to sit. I think they should just be flat. Let people decide, because again, these things were built at a time when people's bodies were different. Their body sizes were different. Just like when you get on a plane, it's who are these being built for? They're not being built for the largest of us. And I'm not saying, you have to build transportation for the largest, but it should be comfortable for everybody. So if there was a way where people could just choose in their flat seats where they're going to sit, that might alleviate tension as well. Right now, you're getting into a packed vehicle. Seats are very hard to come by. If there is a seat, there's a little ridge there, so you're going to have to squeeze between two people. It's almost demonic the way they've done it, in a way where they're just making it so that they're putting us in these cages and creating tension between us. The buses, similarly, I don't know how you get somebody on a bus to be able to determine whether someone rides for free or not. And you don't want any bus driver to put themselves in harm's way. If someone gets on, they just say, I don't have money. Okay, what are you going to do? Someone gets in the back. Okay, I guess you can have surprise visits by people to look to see if they paid. Then you're using your resources for that. One thing I've always thought buses should do is have the same thing as Megabus does, which is little bags for garbage. If there were little disposable bags where you just put your garbage in there, maybe people would find a way to not turn the buses into garbage cans. But yet, okay, there's a bag for garbage. So here's where I put my drink or my food when I'm done. It's about making it as easy as possible for your citizens, right? So it's about, when you get to clean streets, it means, how do you put garbage cans in a place where there is a garbage can and it's been emptied and there's an extra one in case that one gets full? Now, I've been to other cities. I've been lucky enough to travel to other cities, like London. And you can't find a garbage can, it seems like, when I was there. But there's no garbage on the streets. People just culturally would hold on to their garbage. And that's, a lot of cities are like that, where they aspire to be a first world city, where everybody's on the same page. And they say, look, let us figure out a way where we are not turning our city into an ashtray or a garbage can. Again, smokers is another thing. There's just some given thing with a smoker. It's like, I just finish my cigarette and I throw it on the ground. Look, there's already a level of unconsciousness with smoking. There's a cognitive dissonance. All the research is in. There is absolutely nothing beneficial about smoking. Now, sugar, again, not beneficial, but a cupcake, a candy bar, now and again, a treat, okay. But with smoking, nothing. No benefit. So someone who's smoking is already on the suicide installment plan. They've already in their mind distanced the idea, like they don't want to believe that a cigarette's going to kill them because one cigarette never killed anybody. It's the culmination of numerous cigarettes. So you've already got people smoking and throwing their butts on the street, which are everywhere. But maybe we should create something where it's basically a logo city container, like an Altoid box, that people can get for low price or free. You carry it around with you. When you're done with your cigarette, you put your cigarette out in this kind of New York City Altoid box. And then you dump it in a garbage can when you get a chance. But if the city provides this for people, it says, look, we know right now you want to quit. You've been talking about it. You've done it a few times. You're back at it again. You're just saying a couple of cigarettes a day, not a big deal. But the tobacco industry does not believe in a moderate smoker. They believe once you start smoking, you're a smoker, and they've got you. And you've got to crunch the numbers on it. A pack a day at $14 to $15 a pack, 3,000. Got to do the math. But I'm not going to stop this to do the math, but it's simple math. Say it was $10 a day you were spending on cigarettes every day. 365 days, you're spending $3,650 a year on cigarettes. See, that's the story about The Millionaire Next Door, the book. The book, The Millionaire Next Door, is about what things do we spend daily on that if we didn't spend, we'd have more money. Like the latte story. You spend $5 a day on a latte, you get that latte 5 days a week when you go to work. Rough math is $2.50, so now you are spending what, $12.50 a year on lattes? Those numbers have to be crunched. But also, I think there are good taxes and there are good tickets. A good tax is making a pack of smokes straight $20 and the rest of it is taxes, and that's going to help people get off smokes to other programs to say, look, if you're going to smoke, it's going to be $20 a pack, and the city's going to keep a certain amount of it. Does it become a slippery slope when they say, okay, hey, they did it for tobacco, maybe they can do it for alcohol, which they do. There's alcohol taxes, soda taxes. Again, people will accuse you of being a nanny state. When one of the former mayors tried to limit the amount of soda you could have, they accused him of, turning us into a nanny state. It's tricky to kind of dictate the free market, the invisible hand of the free market, the free economy. People are adults. They should be able to have all the soda they want. I mean, we are headed towards a world, in some places it's already happened, the complete decriminalization of drugs and the legalization. It's one thing to decriminalize something. It's another to legalize it. And it's complicated. Unfortunately, you don't know until you've enacted these things what the downside is. If you decriminalize it, it does one thing. If you legalize it, will that cause people who were never going to try it to try it? Will that cause people who've tried it and like it and want to get other people to like it and be cool, try it as well? Society's complicated, but every day, both locally, nationally, globally, we have people who are going into addiction and coming out of addiction. Meaning, it's their first day trying a substance to it's their last day doing that substance. And there's this flow of going in and out of addiction. How many people go into addiction every day? How many people come out of addiction every day? And once you go into addiction, when you come out, it's going to be a battle royale for the rest of your life. To not have that drink, not have that smoke. Those addictions are somewhat easier than food addictions, because in a food addiction, you have to eat. You have to, quote unquote, medicate yourself 1, 2, 3 times a day. With smoking, just don't smoke. With drinking, just don't drink. Now, I'm not saying those are easy. Those are easier said than done. For someone who looks forward to a cigarette, who looks forward to a drink, and maybe more, it's hard to tell them, just don't drink. Because really, it's to some degree the numbing of pain. We're looking for various ways to numb the pain, to numb ourselves. But if we want to get to one happy island, like Aruba, New York City, how do we get to that happiness? I don't believe you can go towards happiness and be like, I'm going to try to be happy. Well, I think that's a byproduct of something. It's like saying, I'm going to make chicken soup. All right, but you need to boil a chicken first. You need to start with something else to get the chicken stock. So similarly, the idea of trying to be happy, happiness comes from gratitude. So finding a way where we can instill gratitude into our populace. Happiness comes from being of service. I believe the road to happiness is paved with bricks of gratitude. So it's a matter of being grateful, and if we can instill in New Yorkers, and again, this is for if I ran for mayor of New York, but the mayor of New York has a platform that other people will listen to just because you're on the news more often than other people who are mayors of other cities, and maybe even governors of other states. And so the idea of instilling the idea of gratitude, and how do we go from I wish I had more to I'm grateful for what I have. And that's, I believe, how you get more is not by praying for more, but being thankful for what you already have. So being thankful for the gifts you already have as opposed to I wish I had more, I wish I had this, as opposed to thank you for allowing me to already have this. Thank you for these gifts. This gets into a who are you saying this to? Are you saying this to a higher power? Are you saying this to a God? Who are you saying this to? I would say you're saying it to the universe, the infinite wisdom that is the universe. How we got here, how we were created, the beginningless beginning, unconsciousness, the Force, like in Star Wars. Maybe you're saying it to the Force. Thank you for my gifts. You still have to work on them, but I believe if you're thankful for what you already have, more will come. So being mayor in a way is being also, you have to be a communicator. You have to be also a coach. You're the one pumping up a city. You're letting them know we're trying, but it's not easy. I hear you. I understand you. These challenges are unfathomable. How do you take a subway system that flooded last week, that's designed to take in 1.5 to 2 inches of water a day, and all of a sudden it gets 4 inches of water immediately and there's a flood? These are major construction issues. These are major infrastructure issues that have to be done. They have to be dealt with. And right now in New York City, there is a migrant crisis. Migrants have been bussed here from the southern border. There's supposedly 100,000 migrants here. I think the city needs to engage in a massive jobs program. What do we need to get done? At a base level, can we hire people to sweep and clean the streets and paint the things that need to get painted, mailboxes and such? Can we just create a program where we're giving each person maybe 6 hours of work, 4 days a week, to get started? And then ultimately they may come to you and say, hey, thank you, but I got a job at a restaurant working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Okay, great, thank you. But work begets work, and to some degree, part of the job of the state is to create opportunities for people to get some work, some job, to be able to go somewhere, show up on time or early, because 15 minutes early is on time is late, and late's unacceptable. You need to instill in them a work ethic of like, I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something, I'm being of service, and at the end of the day, I'm making some money. Because otherwise what's going to happen is those who can will find a way to get these scooters, illegal scooters, and they will start working with the food delivery apps who do not check. They just need you to set up a profile, and boom. You get a scooter, you get some type of device, it's not legal, and you're racing around the city now to make money. And your thought is, the faster I go, the more money I make, which means ultimately you're going to hurt yourself or somebody. And when you do, there's no insurance. You might not even have an ID. So you have no ID, no insurance. You're driving this vehicle around, delivering food to, I won't say the 1%, but the 10%. If you're getting food delivered to your home or office, yeah, you're in the 10%. You may not be in the 1%, but you've got means. And we've created a society where to some degree the 90% are doing stuff for the 10%. Whatever it may be. And we have to get back to a place where at a base level, you've got clean air. And again, everything I'm saying is kind of meaningless in the face of global warming, because really that's the real issue. And everything besides global warming is a distraction, really. That is the number one issue of our time. And it will never not be anymore, because there are those who are like, I'm going to keep putting out the toxins that we do in our business into the atmosphere because I make money and I won't be here, and where we vacation and where we live doesn't seem to affect us that much. So it's going to take a massive effort. People are not going to just all of a sudden convert their cars, and again, there are mixed feelings about electric cars. Where's the electricity coming from? Where are the batteries coming from? How long is there? Can they go? And you're going to find wherever you want to hear, you'll be able to go on the internet and you're going to be able to find somebody to echo your beliefs in that echo chamber. As I said, I wanted to keep these things under 30 minutes, because I think that's a decent spoonful. I think this is the fourth one I've done. And I may go over other things that I've talked about before again, because it merits repeating. Because I think we have to keep getting back to basics, the basics of clean streets, safe streets, free streets. We have to make an effort wherever we live. And I know it's hard because it's just, you've got people going out there and just littering and throwing cigarette butts. And there will be disruptors. Today we painted the mailbox that got graffitied yesterday. So luckily we have team members, caretakers at the bar, and we ripped off the sticker that they ripped in half and we repainted it. And it looks nice for now. We didn't live with it forever. We said, you know what? We're not going to wait till somebody else comes and fixes this, because the cavalry is not coming. You're the cavalry. Cavalry? You are. You've got to do it. Well, listen, I thank you. I hope you got something out of this. Again, I'm trying to just do this to figure out, is it something I want to do? Run for mayor? Is there any interest? But why not start with some podcast, whatever you call this, YouTube channel? And from there, potentially, we see where it goes. Thank you. And remember, I love New York. And New York, I hope, loves me.